Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery, IIMFL and Smart Money Alliance. It's our pleasure to visit with you this Thursday morning, February 18th, 2021. We get together with our distribution partners most weekdays at this time, about a minute or so before 8 a.m. Central, to talk success stories, strategies, tips, techniques, and otherwise. I see Monique's on the line. Congratulations, Monique. One of Monique's clients, Ricky, we'll leave Ricky's last name out, has now received 2 rounds of funding. And so Monique will be paid her great commissions off of that. And Ricky is progressing along, so already through 2 tranches of capital. And just as a little teaser, I sent out a success story this morning for another one of our clients that received their FTF. And that was a $40,000 capital raise under their EIN. So what we'd call business credit, but cash funding, not trade lines. So anyway, the funding's continuing to come along. And it's interesting, every once in a while we'll have someone say, well, you guys never get anyone funded. Well, you can realize how ludicrous that is on 2 levels. Number one, we're not a lender, so they're right. We don't loan money to people. We're a technical advisor. But secondly, our clients obviously do get funding. And those are just a couple of random examples of that. In terms of who gets together on these 8 o'clock Central calls, it's our distribution partners. We have 3 different types of distribution partners, don't we? We have affiliates. It's free and easy to be an affiliate. Who wouldn't want to be an affiliate? They're able to refer clients in, no selling involved. We help those clients either get a business started or take their current business and help them raise $100,000 or more. We guarantee them a minimum of $100,000 capital raise. There's no minimum credit score to qualify for the program, no minimum time in business, no upfront cost. It's beautiful. So we're able to cast a very wide net in terms of helping a large number of people. Secondly, we have our credit literacy educators. Our credit literacy educators educate on credit, to no surprise. They have a landing page and they'll drive people in on the Credit Boost program. It's not credit repair, but instead we add new positive credit and help clients improve their credit profile and increase scores. Again, no upfront cost, guaranteed results, very easy to cast a wide net with that value proposition. And then we have our joint venture partners, the kind of the cream of the crop, the top of the hierarchy. They are also affiliates, also educators, but they do more. They actually work with the clients. And that's, you can't beat that as a satisfying experience or a feeling of value and involvement. So they actually mentor the clients through the 4-week sequence, which is outlined here on the website. And of course, we talked about it in fair detail in yesterday's training. So we're always looking for more joint venture partners. We do a 50-50 net revenue split with them. It's only $250 to get that set up. We have orphan clients that we can assign to them. They get paid $100 an hour to mentor the orphan clients. Plus they write the key person policies and so on. So when we have these daily support calls, like we're beginning today, it's primarily meant to answer your questions and support you. So those of you that are either currently mentoring clients, what questions, what challenges, what concerns do you have that we can help you with? And then secondly, any of those of you that are not yet mentoring clients, but you're interested in maybe getting paid the $100 an hour, writing the key person policies, being more involved, what questions do you have? So I don't bring forth a time occupying message today. We are here to support you and assist you. So who has questions, comments, concerns? All right, so I see Jim's got a question. So just to clarify again, and we talked about Barry yesterday, and he's on the line. So Barry is more sophisticated than some. Not saying he's more sophisticated than you, but he's more sophisticated than some of our distribution partners. So he is able to communicate to a client the option of enrolling in the Capital Ready program. We call it Capital Ready Program 3.0 because it's evolved over time. And with that, then Barry collects, and you all can do so as well. Barry actually collects the $2,500 refundable deposit from the client up front of enrollment. That's different than the access to capital where that $2,500 is deferred until after the first capital raise. Barry is motivated to do that for two reasons. It's better for the client. Number one, the client gets credit boost in the commercial address at no additional cost. And then secondly, Barry gets paid up front, right? Barry's putting $2,500 into his business account. He keeps half, he splits half back with us. So if Barry wouldn't have helped that client yesterday, for example, get started with the Capital Ready package, Barry would have been paid about 2 weeks later, but also Barry's client would have had higher expenses, because if Barry's client needs a commercial address or needs help with credit boost, then those would have been incremental additional fees outside the scope of access to capital, but those are actually included at no cost in the Capital Ready program. So Barry helped the client save money. Barry collected the money up front. Barry has the money in his bank account immediately. So I am not here trying to persuade you all to be a Barry. Some of you are and produce like that, and others are much more comfortable just referring people in to the access to capital using the landing pages that we provide, letting us close them. We'll collect the $2,500 after their first capital raise. So thank you, Jim, for asking that. All right, so Scott's got a question again about that $2,500. So the refundable, and it says this in the client agreement, everything we do is in writing. So so we're going to get away from Barry, because Barry is an exception. And if you want to mimic the Barry model, it's fine. But I'm going to stop talking about the Barry model, which is Capital Ready, and just talk about the access to capital where you're going out to the market with no upfront cost. So with no upfront cost, the access to capital offering, there is a $2,500 refundable deposit for us to build their loan package. And we split that 50-50 with you. However, it's not, again, not collected up front. So what happens is they start in week one, we get them onboarded, we assign them a mentor, the mentor is working with them, they get started on their business plan and financial projections, everything's humming along. Week two, we get them the second lesson on building credit. And then the mentor is going to work with them to complete the personal financial statement and also have them authorize a soft credit pull. That data from those, or really from the first 2 weeks, allows us to make recommendations of what their first tranche of financing should be. And that first tranche of financing could be up to $50,000 to $75,000. It might be a lot less for people that are less credible. But the beautiful thing is now we have really a safety net that every client that's coming through, we can get them some sort of first tranche financing. So again, first tranche financing is not the same type of instrument. Sometimes it's installment, sometimes it's revolving, sometimes it's large, sometimes it's not so large, but we can get any client at least $2,500 in FTF, first tranche financing, and that is now triggered aggressively after week two. The other Tom, let's see if he's on here. He's not on here right now, but I call him the other Tom. So Tom has a client, and that client completed their PFS and soft credit pull. We reviewed that, and that client actually has a couple different options that we could go with for FTF. But we're going to be very quick and very prompt in helping that client move through that first tranche of financing once we have completed the two key data elements, which would be the personal financial statement that the mentor helps them complete and either submits for them or instructs them to submit, and the soft credit pull. Thank you for that question. Robert's given his accolades to Barry, and yes, and I don't want to take away, Monique does this all the time. She brings in Capital Ready 3.0, and so there's others. I'm not trying to say that there's not others that are proficient in bringing clients on where they collect the deposit up front. I think the common misnomer is, oh, well, we're giving the client a raw deal. If we collect the $2,500 up front in capital ready, when we could have not done that and they could have waited till later with access to capital, then we're greedy. Well, no, it's the opposite. You're saving the client money by doing that. The deposit exists regardless, but you're right. Instead of waiting for the first round of financing, they're paying out of pocket. But by doing so, they're getting the commercial address at no additional charge, which saves them $1,200 a year. If they need it, they may not need it. And then secondly, if they need credit boost, it's probably saving them over $1,000. So you can go at it whichever way you want, but it's certainly not costing the client more. If anything, it's costing the client less. Billy's on the call. He's one of our joint venture partners, and he's mentoring a bunch of clients. And I know Billy yesterday had a concern. Well, what happens if we go for the first round of funding for the client and they can't afford it? Well, again, that's a real problem, right? Because if we're going to help a client borrow money, the presumption is that they plan on paying it back. And if they have no willingness to pay it back or no ability to pay it back, they probably should not be borrowing money, right? And so what we can always do, though, as we talked about with the Billy example yesterday, is if cash flow is their underlying problem, then let's fix their cash flow. Let's plug them as a credit literacy educator, support them in that regard, help them earn on average an extra $9,000 in bank deposits per month. And then now they have the cash flow to support their business. So again, keep your questions coming in. Our main point today is to cover the questions, comments, concerns that any of you have, especially those of you that are mentoring clients, because we need to make sure that we're supporting you and that the clients are progressing and having a good experience. All right, so I see a question here. So what happens if you're assigned an orphan client, but the client doesn't respond? Well, obviously you want to try to reach out to them a couple times. You should try to reach out to them by at least 2 modes of communication. I guess 3 main modes of communication could be text, phone, and email, but it's up to you how to reach out to them. I wouldn't go email alone. And it's simply, if they don't respond within the first week, so in other words, now they're a week behind. They were assigned to you and they never engaged, and now we're off to week 2. Then you'll need to let us know, and you can email us in down here. And then they're going to go into the compliance department, because the agreement that the client signs is, number one, we're making a commitment to help them raise at least $100,000. We're on the hook for that, and that's fine. But they're also promising to work with us to raise at least $100,000 through what we call active participation. And if they just sign up and then they're not actively involved, then they have one of 2 options. Again, this is in the agreement. They either can get active, which is what our goal is, or they're in breach. And if they're in breach, again, they go to the compliance department, and then there's a penalty for breaching a contract, just like there is for almost any contract. If one party promises to do something and they fail to do it, then there's usually ramifications, economic ramifications. So we don't want to be the bad guys by any means, but if the client contracts with us, does not actively participate, now he or she's wasting the mentor's time. Mentor's trying to reach out to them to help them. The client's not moving along, then ultimately they're breaching the agreement. Again, they have the option to get active and actively participate, which is the preference. If not, they go into collections. And it won't go away. If they breach their agreement, it won't go away. They will pay us, because the court system consistently rules favorably when one party breaches the agreement. All right, John asked, how long does the credit trade lines on Credit Boost stay in a client's profile? Only 7 years. I don't know how to get a trade line to stay on longer than 7 years. You may, John, and maybe you could teach us about that. But 7 years is as long as I've seen it stay on. Joseph asked a great question, and Joseph's one of our newer joint venture partners. He'll be having his first cohort to work with coming up Monday, so we're excited for Joseph. But Joseph asked a question. Is there a way that a client can be told an approximate amount that they need from the first tranche to help them complete the financing process to funding? And then he has another question, but we'll do one at a time. So that's a deep question and a good question. So how much they qualify for on the first tranche of financing is based upon them and their credibility. And we've all talked about the 3 C's many times before. So it is what it is. Now, the beauty of our program is we work with clients to get them from where they're at to where they need to be. And with that being said, just because they're not eligible for certain types of financing or as much financing as they want now doesn't mean that they won't ever be. It just means we've got to work on it, right? That's logical. Otherwise, it'd be too good to be true. And so it's the lenders. We can make some projections, but ultimately it's the lenders or extenders of credit that will determine how much someone is qualified for, because you're not the lender, I'm not the lender. We're the technical advisors. That really wasn't Joseph's question, but I wanted to preface it with that. Joseph is more saying, okay, he's got a new client, he's mentoring, and how much money are they going to need to become compliant? Well, that's a complicated question, because until we have gone through the 4-week process, the entire 4-week process, Joseph, we've not collected all the data from them. For example, we've not collected their last 3 months bank statements from their business yet. We've not collected their last 3 years business tax returns. And I realize if they're a startup or early stage, they wouldn't have maybe that many bank statements or tax returns. So we're not saying that's a minimum, but I'm just saying we have not collected all the data yet. And this is a very important point to make. Until we've collected the data through the 4-week process, we really can't put together a capital raise strategy for the client, because we don't know what the right path is for them to take. It's through this 4-week process that we get the data that we need to learn that and prepare their loan package. So I think it's okay if you want to be conservative. Let's say the client comes to you, Joseph, and they work out of their home. They have a residential address. And they're like, well, do I have to get a commercial address? No. Some sources of capital don't care if you have a commercial address or not. Some, it's very important. It's fine for the client to wait until we've gone through the entire 4-week continuum. And then we put together a capital raise and say, okay, you wanted an SBA loan. Well, to get the SBA loan in the amount that you want, then there are a few deficiencies that you have we need to address. And maybe at that time, then we talk about the importance of having a commercial address. So it's okay to take a conservative approach and hold back on making recommendations to clients of things that would help improve their profile until we've made it through the entire 4-week process, because not all sources of capital have the same underwriting requirements. But with that being said, Joseph, there are some general good guidelines, right? We know that a business with a commercial address is more credible than one without. Another example is, well, they're just a sole proprietorship. Do they have to go spend money to form an LLC, C Corp, or S Corp? No, they don't have to. There are some sources of capital that will fund a sole proprietorship. Are they more credible if they have a true business entity? Of course. So until we've made it through that 4-week process and we have a capital raise strategy for them, Joseph, it's impossible for us to be able to articulate any deficiencies that they have based upon a given type of capital, because we're not clear until we've gathered that data through the 4-week process of what's the best type of capital for their circumstances. And then Joseph's second question is, can they decline funding offers? They can, and the agreement says that. We don't get a power of attorney from the client. We don't pretend to be them. We don't fill out forms to be them. We don't do any of that, what I would consider nonsense or gray matter. And so we'll bring them sources of capital that we believe meet their circumstances, but they can certainly look at it and say, no, I don't want that. And so they're not required to accept offers of funding. Thank you, Joseph, for asking those 2 good questions. Robert asked, oh, very good question, Robert. So does Capital Ready Package 3.0 save clients money in the second year of the program regarding commercial address and credit boost? Well, that's a good point. Credit boost isn't designed to be perpetual. So I think credit boost impact would be recognized before the renewal. Pretty much everything we do is sitting on a 1-year platform. So I guess the simple answer is no. The Capital Ready package is going to save clients in the first year by not having any performance fees on credit boost and by not having any cost for the commercial space in the first year. Thank you for pointing that out, Robert. Brett says there's some issues with my audio, and I apologize for that. I'm here in my office. We're in blizzard-like conditions. Most of Texas, or at least East Texas, is shut down. So I'm fortunate to be here with you, but I'm not sure if internet connectivity is less strong than usual. Apologize for that. Scott says, great fundamental questions. Thank you. Barry says he can hear okay. Desmond asked about compliance. And so our compliance department is not staffed 5 days a week. You know, we don't have that many compliance issues that we needed to hire a 6-figure person to work full time. So the compliance department is part-time. They use Calendly. And so anytime anyone goes into compliance, where the compliance department should be, and I believe that they're consistently sending their Calendly link saying schedule. But it's interesting, Desmond, you'll see this. People will go into the compliance department in terms of a potential breach of their agreement with us, and they'll call in, they'll burn up the phone lines. Well, that doesn't work. They have to schedule an appointment with the compliance department, or they'll email me or email others. I had one lady last night, she emailed me 10 times. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You've got to work with the compliance department, because what we're doing is and this is true for you, Desmond, as you're mentoring clients. If you have a client, Desmond, that you're mentoring and they're not compliant, you don't want to be the bad guy. You're not the bill collector. I'm not the bill collector. It's just, if they're out of compliance, they go to the compliance department. Once they resolve that, then they come back to you and I, and we work with them again. You and I don't have enough time in the day to be chasing down money or dealing with those headaches. So you and I focus on working with clients who are compliant and moving forward. And if for some reason they're not, or we think they're not, then they work with the compliance department to resolve it. And we're not perfect. And of course, no one's perfect. And so, when they go to the compliance department, we think that something's off, and we ask them to get with the compliance department to resolve it. Maybe our records are wrong. That's okay. Then we correct our records. Maybe their records are wrong. That's okay. Then we'll get it corrected. It can be resolved. But that's the model that we have. If a person appears to be out of a client or joint venture partner appears to be out of compliance, then you and I are not going to be working with them, Desmond. We're going to pause and just respectfully say, hey, work with the compliance department, get whatever issue resolved. As soon as they clear that flag, we'll get back right after it. And so I have nice conversations daily with people and just say, I'm sorry, I can't help you with your capital raise right now. Or no, we can't be assigning you orphan clients right now. There's something flagged on your account. There's a certain department to resolve it. And then you'll have some ugly people. Well, I'm not going to pay you, and I quit. Well, you can breach an agreement if you want, but what you can always feel comfortable in telling them is, this is not going to go away, and you will pay us. That's the 2 sentences. You can just let them know. This will not go away. You will pay us. And then the compliance department handles it from there. Okay, so Billy has, so if a client wants an SBA loan, can we create the loan package specifically for an SBA loan? Absolutely. And Billy's bringing up a good point that maybe is so subtle that others don't realize it. The loan package needed for different types of capital raises varies, and it links back to what Joseph's question was earlier. So different sources of capital have different underwriting requirements. So let's take the gentleman we did the success story on, I emailed out this morning. First tranche of financing, and now I forget what it was. Was it 40,000? I forget what it was. I think it was 40,000 under his EIN. Frankly, he's got some collection accounts on his personal credit that would have been a real barrier. So we did 40,000 under his EIN. So the point is, we have to look at client circumstances and find the right type of capital based upon their circumstances, because different types of capital have different underwriting criteria. Even different SBA loans have different underwriting criteria and thus different loan packages. But in the beginning, Billy, we don't know. I mean, we're just gathering data. So we're going to build out a normal loan package, a normal, robust loan package. But you're right, Billy, we may have to make some tweaks to it based upon the specific type of funding that they're going after. That's absolutely true. But we really don't know that until the end of the 4 weeks. And if we didn't gather all the data in the beginning, we wouldn't even be able to come to that conclusion, because we wouldn't know what type of funding they're best suited for. Thank you, Billy, for that. And Bill, I emailed you this morning. There's one of your mentoring clients looking to reach out to you. All right, Joseph says, oh goodness, Joseph, you're going to open Pandora's box on us right there. All right, so here it goes. Joseph asks, are there any joint venture partners who are charging their clients more than 6% of capital raised? Well, there might be, and we don't, we may or may not know. What we tell our joint venture partners is we're doing a 50-50 split of the performance fees. And if you want us to charge the client, let's say you want us to, well, we've had this. We had a joint venture partner, Phil, good guy, very good guy, South Carolina. Phil wanted, let me recall correctly, I think he wanted to charge his clients, and don't quote me on this, because this is a little while back, 20%. He wanted to charge all of his clients 20%, I believe, performance fee, split 50-50. And it's like, well, if that's what you want, Phil, then that's fine. And so we created a different agreement for Phil's clients. And when they received the contract, it said 20% performance fee, because that's what Phil wanted. And so Joseph is asking about that. And so Joseph, yeah, our normal is 6%. Split 50-50. You get 3 points, we get 3 points. But if in fact, Joseph, you feel that your time's more valuable and you want to make more money, you can let us know what you want your clients to be charged. Of course, that needs to be in writing. And so then we can give them an agreement that has that higher performance fee on it. So the answer is yes. Some of our joint venture partners want higher comp, and they're willing to charge their clients more. But that obviously has to be in writing. The way I started to answer it was a little bit different. The other variance is if you're charging something else on the back end, that's somewhat, I guess, unrelated. So it's not between us and the client, but if you have some other fees, you're also their accountant, their realtor, their attorney, where you're charging for other things for other reasons, we might not even know that. So best practice is leave it at 6%. But if you want your clients to pay more, then we can charge them more if that's what you want. So we never, and this back to Billy's next question, we have to be careful. We cannot promise. It would be unethical, unrealistic, and probably immoral for us to go promise any one client something very specific as a type of funding when we don't even know anything about them. They've not gone through this 4-week sequence. And so like Billy's talking about an SBA loan. Well, there's not just one type of SBA loan, right? There's 7A, there's 7A Express, there's 504, there's micro loans. And so can we go promise anyone, for example, an SBA 504 loan for $5 million? Of course not. I guess theoretically we could, but we'd have to say, well, disclaimer, it may take you 20 years to meet the criteria if you don't currently meet it. But what we promise and guarantee credibly, legally, ethically, is at least $100,000 capital raise. But it may be SBA guaranteed funds. It may not be. We have to see what they qualify for. So I would never, we will never, and I would encourage you to never go promise, oh yeah, you want $5 million of an SBA 504 loan at 3.2 interest. You got it. Well, how in the world are you going to guarantee that? You're not the lender. You can't promise that. So we don't promise a specific source of capital because in many cases, people will qualify for different sources of capital even than we thought about initially. And we had an issue, and Will's here on the line. Will's a great guy. We did a big workshop up in Chicago, and a lesson learned, everyone that came to that workshop was expecting an SBA loan. Well, and some of them got funded, certainly. So it wasn't that no one got an SBA loan. Some did. But did everyone in that room meet the underwriting criteria for an SBA loan? No matter how good of a loan package we built for them, some people didn't meet that criteria. And so we need lesson learned. We don't want to promise people a specific type of funding because that may not be the right answer. Thank you, Billy. Yeah, and I understand about interruptions with power. All right. Yep. No, I understand, Billy. And so I think if you have a question that asks, hey, can you guys help me get an SBA loan? The answer is absolutely yes. Yeah. Let's get you in the Access to Capital program and we'll go through the process. And we can help them get an SBA loan. And if that's all that they want, if it's an SBA loan or bust, then we can continue to work with them until they meet the underwriting criteria. So eventually, as long as they comply, we can help them inch their way from wherever they are to where they need to be. But they may have really delayed their funding because there might have been 5 other types of funding that they could have already had while they were inching along. They were just chasing the wrong tail. All right, Billy's asking a question. So when you're a mentor, you get copied on the onboarding email, copied or blind copied on the email, the onboarding email to each of the clients that you're mentoring. And that has the link to the live plan that the client's getting. If they would like you to have ongoing access to your live plan, they can add you as a contributor, but they need to do that, not us, because they're authorizing that. But again, as a mentor, it's not your responsibility to help them fill out the live plan. If you're doing that, you're going above and beyond. So I'm not saying you shouldn't go above and beyond, but just yesterday we talked about the concept of coaching clients, getting paid more to do more. I think now you're starting to move into a full business coach role, which is great, but that's above and beyond us paying you the $100 an hour for the 4 weeks. Robert asked about veteran advantages. And so, yes, there are certain benefits that some subgroups have in terms of lending. I mean, we're a technical advisor, not a lender, so we don't treat vets or non-vets any different. But yes, some loans have preferential treatment for veterans. Okay, let's see. Desmond, I don't understand what you're asking about. Give them some homework. I don't understand. It seems like you're being cynical, but I think I'm probably just misreading what you're putting in there. So I'm sorry to understand. Do all funding sources have a $99 application fee? Absolutely not. No, there are different sources of capital. Some have no application fees, some do. But no, the answer to your question is no. Not all funding sources have an application fee. And sometimes the application fees can look different. When you look at SBA loans, there's a fair amount of fees involved with a lot of SBA loans that come out at closing. Same when you buy a house, right? Sometimes you can be shocked with, or buy a car, right? Look, dealer prep fee. I bought a car from California and had it shipped in January. And it's like, I don't even live in California. Why am I paying these California fees? You know, it's all the small print. So lenders control the fee structure, and then the buyer or the borrower, I guess, can control, do they want to accept it or not? Usually there's not much negotiation, but there's almost always fees associated with the lending process. How much and what it is, those are the devil's in the detail. That depends upon what the extension of credit is. What we want to avoid is giving general answers, because until an extension of credit, let's say you wanted to go buy a new BMW 7 Series and you want to say, well, what's it going to cost? You might say, what's my payments going to be? Well, your payments are zero because you have not applied, you've not been approved for funding. But once you apply, an extension of credit is made, then of course, then a reconciliation can be made of, well, what is the cost going to be? People sometimes think that they can determine the cost without applying, but the cost is often determined after the application based upon the credibility of their file. And if you want to develop business cards, so again, we're not a franchise model. So if you wanted to develop a business card, it would be based upon your entity, not ours. We're not a franchisor. You're not a franchisee. We're a licensor. You're a licensee. And so your business cards would be branded to your business, not to ours. Okay, what other questions does anyone have that we need to cover today? We have several new mentors that have come on. We'll be we process access to capital clients in batches, and so we'll have the next batch processed this weekend, going live on Monday. This weekend they'll be assigned a mentor. If you're not yet a joint venture partner, you're interested in mentoring clients, getting paid the $100 an hour, writing the key person policies, then you would just fill out the inquiry form here, let us know your area of interest, and submit it. If you're already one of our mentors, one of our joint venture partners, thank you for making a difference in these folks' lives. We'll continue to feed you orphan clients, and of course, you should be generating your own. Any other questions, comments, concerns anyone has before we end today's rather open forum conversation? All right. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great day. Let's make sure we get at least one deal in today. Have a good day. Bye-bye.